Translating, that is transposing information from one language to another, cross language barriers, making people of Earth capable of sharing each other's knowledge, helping the evolution of human race. Translating is theoretically simple. It's just necessary to know a couple of languages, and it is possible to make an information comprehensible to whoever is able to speak one of the used languages. But what happens when one of the said language is utterly unknown? Deciphering a forgotten language is an extremely difficult process without external interventions. In several cases, the decipherment process succeeded mainly thanks to archaeological findings that made possible for cryptographers to start working. Bilingual documents, linguistic compatibilities also representing the turning point that made the decipherment process possible. In order to understand how difficult the decipherment process is, the translation of 3 languages will be taken into exam: the decipherment of cuneiform script, the Egyptian hieroglyphs, and the Ugaritic language. Cuneiform script was created by Sumerian people around 3000 BC and has been adopted by several civilizations in order to express their language. The lack of cuneiform documents slowed down the first translation attempts. They inaccurately thought that the script main use was that of decorating the palaces and that it couldn't be used to express a language. But in 1802, a German scholar named Georg Friedrich Grotefend communicated his intention of deciphering the cuneiform script to the Academy of Göttingen. By analyzing the few available documents, Grotefend sensed that the script must be read horizontally from left to right, and that couldn't be both ideographical because the signs were too few, and syllabic because there were words even 10 characters long. So cuneiform must be an alphabetical script. By analyzing some inscriptions from the ruins of Persepolis, he managed to match alphabetical values to some cuneiform signs, thanks to lucky intuitions and the recurrence of the word king in the text. But the man who truly started the decipherment process was, in 1836, Henry Creswick Rawlinson, English consul in Baghdad and archaeology enthusiast, who traveled to the Iranian province of Kermanshah near the city of Bistun. There he found a huge bas-relief surrounded by cuneiform inscriptions. He copied part of it, and he found himself dealing with a text very similar to the one analyzed by Grotefend. By searching proper names on the text, Rawlinson managed to identify the names of Persian kings Darius and Xerxes, whose names were known by Greek sources. This made possible for him to match even more signs to their correct alphabetical values. Subsequent expeditions to Bistun showed that the whole text has been copied down in 3 different languages: Old Persian, Babylonian, and Elamite language. After confronting his work with that of other scholars, Rawlinson managed to translate the whole Persian text, and by crisscrossing each word, decipher the Elamite and Babylonian part of the text too. Now let's talk about the most famous ancient script in the world: Egyptian hieroglyphs. In the summer of 1798, the antiquities of ancient Egypt came under particular scrutiny when Napoleon Bonaparte dispatched a team of historians, scientists, and draughtsmen to follow in the wake of his invading army. In 1799, these French scholars encountered the single most famous slab of stone in the history of archaeology, found by a troop of French soldiers stationed at a Fort Julien in the town of Rosetta, in the Nile Delta. The soldiers were demolishing an ancient wall to clear the way for an extension of the fort, but built into the wall was a stone bearing a remarkable set of inscriptions. The same piece of text has been inscribed on the stone 3 times, in Greek, Demotic, and hieroglyphs. Assuming that the other 2 scripts contain the identical text, then it might appear that the stone could be used to crack hieroglyphs. However, a significant hurdle remained. The Greek revealed what the hieroglyphs meant, but nobody has spoken the ancient Egyptian language for at least 8 centuries, so it was impossible to establish the sound of Egyptian words. When the English polymath Thomas Young heard about the Rosetta Stone, he considered it an irresistible challenge. Young's breakthrough came when he focused on a set of hieroglyphs surrounded by a loop, called a cartouche. He suspected that his highlighted hieroglyphs representing something of significance, possibly the name of Pharaoh Ptolemy, who was mentioned in the Greek text. If this were the case, it would enable Jung to latch on to the phonetics of the corresponding hieroglyphs, because a pharaoh's name would be pronounced roughly the same regardless of the language. Jung matched up the letters of Ptolemy with hieroglyphs, and he managed to correlate most of hieroglyphs with their correct phonetic values. Jung was on the right track, but his work suddenly ground to a halt. It seems that he had been brainwashed by the established view that the script was picture writing, and that he was not prepared to shatter the paradigm. He excused his own phonetic discoveries by noting that the Ptolemaic dynasty was not of Egyptian descent, and hypothesized that their foreign names would have been spelled out phonetically, because there would not be a symbol within the standard list of hieroglyphs. Though Jung's discoveries are important, the one who completely deciphered Egyptian hieroglyphs is Jean-François Champollion. He followed Jung's tracks, analyzing more pharaohs' names, but he focused his attention on a cartouche that revealed the name of Egyptian pharaohs Ramses. He proved ancient scribes spoke Coptic language, using hieroglyphs in order to create a kind of rebuses, mixing up ideographical and phonetical science in order to create words. He was so able to translate the Egyptian hieroglyphs. There was instead a case in which the decipherment process was accomplished without any archaeological finding. In 2006, a group of researchers from MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, announced the creation of a software capable of automatically deciphering the Ugaritic language spoken 2000 years before Christ in Syria. The software was developed following some basic conditions which eased the computer. The first condition is that the language at issue must have a related language. Concerning Ugaritic, researchers chose Hebrew as a related language. The second condition provides that there must be a systematic way to map the alphabet starting from the related language so that the symbols and words have a similar recurrence pattern. In addition, words must have a similar root, such as sol and sonne for the word sun in Spanish and German. Lastly, prefixes and suffixes have a similar recurrence pattern. Ugaritic has 30 letters, and the software translated 29 of them in a few hours. But the greatest discovery was that at least a third of Ugaritic words have a counterpart in Hebrew.